I think we are going to start. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Sorry for keeping you waiting. So, we start today's lesson in the name of God the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Last time we started talking about classification of lower organisms. So, we look at how classification was done in Aristotle's time. Then we talk about Carolus Linnaeus' system of classification, whereby we discuss the hierarchical system of classification. We talk about his renowned binomial nomenclature, whereby organisms are given two part names that are Latinized. Then we realize some domesticated animals are having three limbs. We discussed that. Then we started with the life process and the structure of amoeba proteus. So that was what we did last time. So today we'll be talking about the life processes and economic importance of Euglena viridis. So if you can still see my screen, let me know, then we continue from there. Very good. So any question that you have concerning amoeba proteus, you can ask before we start Euglena viridis. So amoeba is like the simplest that we study at our level. The next one that we will study is Euglena viridis. We will see some similarities with amoeba, and this one will be a little bit advanced in some characteristics than amoeba proteus. So if there are no questions or contributions from last week's lesson, we will start with Euglena viridis. If there are any concern, you raise up your hand. I will invite you to talk. All right. So Euglena viridis. So that is the scientific name or is binomial nomenclature. So you can see this is typed. So we have italicized it. So Euglena here mean to be is genus name, and the viridis is species name. So put together, we refer it to as Euglena viridis. So Euglena, remember last time I discussed with you the forms in which organisms can exist, and I told you that it can exist as a solitary organism that is single and free living, or single but living in colony. Example is the volvus, or single but they live in chains or filamentous form. Example could be some bacteria like the cocci, the bacilli, and the rest. And the most renowned one is the spirogyra, which we will study, God willing, Tuesday in our next lesson. Then we can talk about the those that form part of a multicellular organisms. So these are the four main ways organism can live. So Euglena is a unicellular organism and it lives a solitary life. So a single Euglena lives on its own. Like humans, one person you can live on your own. You don't need the other person to live. But in the society, you will need them. But either or when every man die, you can survive at least for some years or for some time, so far as you have the resources around. So they are also solitary. They are independent on themselves. One living on one euglena cell can perform all the seven life processes and live on its own, even multiply, or let me say undergo reproduction to produce several euglena. So Euglena viridis is a solitary and free living. So it means it lives on its own. Free living means it is not parasitic. It doesn't have to live on another organism. It doesn't depend on any other organism for its survival. So whenever you hear an organism is free living, it means they are basically not harmful. They are not parasite. They don't need to cause harm or live on another organism as its host before they can survive on their own. So they are free living and they are independent. So Euglena is a solitary and free living freshwater flagellate. So most of you might have heard this word for the very first time. It comes from the word flagella, and flagella is what you see here, the shape where I am moving my mouse pad around. So that is the flagella of the Euglena. So when it says a flagellate, it means it's an organism that has a flagella. So it has a flagella, and based on that, one of their classification, you see they are in a flagellate. So it means it has a flagella. So when we are classifying it, there's a point of which we say is, and some are also biflagellate. We will talk about such organisms, meaning they have two of the flagella. So it's a flagellate found in great numbers in stagnant freshwater pond. So just like the amoeba, the Euglena also thrives in stagnant water because of their behavior. They are not well adapted to a fast moving water like the stream or the sea. So they want stagnant water where they can thrive very very well. So and if they are in a stream, it should be a slowly running stream. It shouldn't be running at the very top speed because they could be denatured or that can tear their or kill them apart. So that is why they live in a flow streaming water because of their system. So containing a considerable amount, so they also need food or let me say vegetation around so that they can survive. So it should be a slow flowing stream that is, or maybe a stagnant pond, or it has to be well stocked with food. So that's why they need such a vegetation. So a considerable amount of vegetation, they could be hiding around such areas, and that means that place will be a little bit nutritious for them to stay. So that is why they need such an environment. And they can be found at various depths below the surface of the water. So they can be found at different areas on the some could be found at the very topmost, some in the middle or anywhere. So they are just dispersed around, and they need below the decaying nitrogenous organic matter. So all the decaying organic matter like the feces of animals, leaves, twigs, and every organic matter that is breaking down either plant or animal remains, they feed on the this organic matter as their source of food. So it multiplies rapidly and forms a green scum. So Euglena is greenish, and there's a reason why. And I'll ask that question: why does it have the green color? If that's a green color, what does it suppose to you? So it's a question I'll ask very shortly. So get your answers ready. So they multiply rapidly and forms a green scum. And I'm sure if you talk about scum, is that when you wash with the hard water, you see that skills that you have on that. That's the scum. So it's like a green substances found on water bodies. And if you don't take care, you might think that is a spirogyra, but that is not. This one looks like a powdery form, a powder. So we call it algal blooms, like under favorable conditions. So you can see like there's some greenish powder poured on the water surface, a damp water, and you might think it's spirogyra, but you just go there and see that it is not stretchy and like a mucilage of the spirogyra. So the Euglena has such a structure that I've given onto you. So the green color, what does it suppose or suggest to you? We say it is a microscopic unicellular organism in the kingdom Protoctista. So first, amoeba is in the kingdom Protoctista or Protista. Euglena also in the same kingdom Protoctista. We will talk about a few of them. Then it has both plant and animal characteristics. So now my question, if an answer is ready, you can raise up your hand and help us. So if you say amoeba, Euglena has a greenish structure when they multiply their number, or because of how large their number was, they are being detected as a green scum on water, which we call an algal bloom. And here we have read something here that it has both plant and animal characteristics. So why do you think that Euglena has a green color, and what role will it play in its life? Looking at this last sentence, we talk about that it also has both plant and animal features. So I'm inviting your answers. Anyone that is ready, please. I should be asking more questions, but since sometimes their cooperation is not that much, so today just get straight to the point, and one person raise up your hand and I'll invite you to talk. I'm not seeing any hand raised yet, so I'm still waiting for anyone. Okay, very good. Perkuadi has given an answer. Yes, Perkuadi. I don't know whether a hand is up. If someone has raised a hand, you can talk. I can't see the hand now, but if you have raised up your hand, you can talk. So let me read what Perkian said. So Perkian says, because each chloroplast contains chlorophyll, providing that green pigment. So he said that because each chloroplast contains chlorophyll, providing that green pigment, that's very, very good. So that means the green color over there signifies presence of chlorophyll, and that have give it opportunity to perform the plant-like feature. So someone said Euglena is green because of chlorophyll. That is very, very good, because contains chloroplast like plants, and they use the chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So that is the best answer you can provide, because it contains chlorophyll, and chlorophyll has the greenish color. And remember, all these are called they are plastid. So not plastic, plastid, plastid. This is a collective name for photosynthetic structures, or let me say compounds. So chlorophyll is one. We have xanthophylls there. We have phycobilins, phycoerythrin, phycocyan, and the rest. Some are reddish, that's the phycoerythrin. Phycocyan is yellow. Then we have xanthophyll, that is like orange, or that is funny. And even carotenoids are there, that's found in carrot. So we have a lot of them, but chlorophyll is green in color, and others have different colors, as I've talked about, right? Because there are some plants that leaves are reddish, and still some are even brown, and they still photosynthesize. So here means it contains chlorophyll, which is a green pigment, and the plant will use that for its photosynthesis. So that is why the Euglena is green in color. Thank you very much for your response. So let's still cooperate, and it will be of a good importance to us. So now let's look at the structure. This is how amoeba, sorry, if I say amoeba, it's Euglena. Yeah, so Euglena, not amoeba. So that's the structure of Euglena, and we can say it looks like a hat, or as we say, so it's a hat-shaped organism, and I'm sure for this most of us can and draw it very well. So that's how it looks like, something like a hat. You draw it, and you give it a long flagellum. So remember we said amoeba doesn't have a locomotory structure, but the flagellum in the Euglena is its locomotory structure. So Euglena has a locomotory structure. This gives it an edge, or let me say an upper hand. It makes it more advanced than the uh, the amoeba, because amoeba doesn't have a locomotive structure. It just forms pseudopodia, 4 feet. But this one has a structure that enable, or it is used for locomotion. So this organism is able to move faster than the amoeba, because once it slashes its long flagellum, it propels it in a zigzag fashion. So we'll talk about how it moves. So it moves in a zigzag fashion, which I will explain very shortly. So once you draw the Euglena, you have to give it a long flagellum. That is the flagellum. Then we have something here, a pigment, which is called an eye spot, and we have a contractile vacuole. So it also has a plant-like feature that we call the stellate chloroplast. So that is the chloroplast. Some books will call it the stellate chloroplast. So that is how the chloroplast looks like in its structure. Then we have pyrenoids and other structures over there. So let me take it one after the other. So we have the flagellum, which is the locomotory structure. It has a mouth. So we will learn later, and it's a very examinable question. Maybe plant-like features of the Euglena and the animal-like features. Remember we said it has both plant and animal features. So we'll talk about the animal-like features and the plant-like features of Euglena viridis. So flagellum. So I'll just mention them, and I'll invite you to group it. I think that will be a very good activity. So which of them? So flagellum is one. So it's flagellum for animals or plants. So later you will group them for me. That will be a very good activity. Now we have the mouth. So Euglena doesn't have a mouth. Sorry, amoeba doesn't have a mouth. Amoeba just uses a cell membrane. It phagocytoses its food, and that is all. But this one has a mouth, so food cannot enter through this cell membrane. It can undergo phagocytosis. Rather, it has to pass through the mouth pore, or the mouth here. So it has a flagellum, has a mouth. Now there's an eye spot, and this eye spot is not for seeing. So what is it used for? I will invite you to answer that. So the eye spot is not for vision, it's for a very important feature. So someone will help us to get that meaning. So you can be searching for it. If you know it, keep it in mind. It has a gullet. So if there's a mouth, there's a gullet. So we have a mouth, we have an esophagus. So it also swallow, the food will pass through there. And is that a plant-like feature or an animal-like feature? We will find out very soon. It also has what we call a contractile vacuole. And remember, this structure was also found in the amoeba, which is used for water regulation, also exchange of waste, or let me say excretion. So it's for both excretion and also for water conservation or osmoregulation. So I've talked about the contractile vacuole. It has a paramylon granules, and some can call it pyrenoids. So either paramylon granules or pyrenoids, and these are structures that save or store starch. So it is a food storage. It stores excess starch in its body so that later it can use it as food source. And it has the cell membrane. We have the ectoplasm and the endoplasm. So the ecto is the outside part of the cell membrane, and the endoplasm is the inner part, just as we had in the amoeba proteus. It has chloroplast. So all these are formed. So we call it a stellate. It looks like a star. So it's called a stellate, not stellate, but a stellate chloroplast. So all these things, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and these are all the chlorophyll. So the chloroplast in which the chlorophyll are formed. Then it has a nucleus that is beneath the stellate chloroplast. Then a myoneme is over there. There is a thus over there. Then it has the pellicle, and a pellicle is a structure that covers its structure. So all these are the basic structures and features of the Euglena viridis. Now I've seen your hand, Lillian. Keep it up, or you can wait for some time. I will invite you to ask your question, not now. So let's look at this. Then later you answer my question. Then your question will come. So there's a fun fact here. Euglena viridis. So in Greek, the eu, remember last time I told you that eu bacteria means true. So eu over there means true. That is a prefix for true in Greek. So eu means true, and glean means eyeball or eye people in Latin, and viridis means green. So if only you understand Greek, or you had understood the meaning of this in Greek, eu means true, viridis means green, and the glena or the glean means eyeball. So this can give you three features of euglena. The viridis means green, eu means true, so it has an eye people. So you can say the euglena has a green color, and that green color presupposes chlorophyll, so it can photosynthesize. Now the eu means true, and the glen there means an eyeball, so meaning it has a structure that can be used for, but I said not seeing, but that could be sensitive to light, and we will get to know what it used that thing for. So it's a unicellular green organism with an eye-like photoreceptive structure. So photo means light, receptive means it's able to receive. So it receives light or can perceive light presence. And it is a phytoflagellate. So it's a flagellate, and phyto here talks about plant life. So phytoflagellate, as it possesses both chloroplast as well as flagella. So anytime you hear phyto, or even fighter, the phyto or fighter refers to what we call as a plant-like structure. So it is a phytoflagellate, which means it's a flagellated organism that has plant-like features. Most of the organisms that have flagella are more of animal-like feature, but Euglena having this animal-like structure because animals locomote. It also has a plant-like feature, so it's like living in a double world. It can live animal-like life, and it can also live as a plant-like structure. So you get to know how it uses these dualism to survive. So it it is autotrophic in sunlight. So when there is sunlight, conditions are favorable, it can undergo photosynthesis because of the chlorophyll in its chloroplast. It can prepare its own food. Then, if there is no light, or it doesn't have access to light, or cannot photosynthesize, then it will use its mouth paw and the gullet to ingest food inside. So if light is there, fine, it prepares its own food through photosynthesis. If there's no light, It can prepare food through photosynthesis. It then feed heterotrophically by taking in or ingesting food from its environment. So that is what I have provided now. Later we will look at the life processes. So before I invite Lillian to ask a question, I will I'll give you a chance to answer my questions. Anyone that is ready, then whatever Lillian wanted to ask or find out, I will allow her to ask very shortly. So now let's look at the structures of the amoeba, those that look animal-like and those that look plant-like. Anyone that is ready, you can open up your microphone and help us with that. Anyone that is ready, you open up your microphone, then you talk to us. The animal-like structures and plant-like structures of Euglena viridis. Anyone that is ready can help us. I'm still waiting for. So animal life features, you can open up your microphone. Okay. So I want us to know that look at the structures. Some are things that pertain to animals, some pertain to plants. So which of them are is a very examinable questions that are normally come in the examination. If I'm the one setting questions, I always add that because they're very practical question. So what are the plant-like features and the animal-like features of Euglena? I've not seen anything. Okay, a hand is coming up, or was it a message? Yeah, Mary, please, you can talk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so plant-like feature, one that you are talking about is uh, the chlorophyll. Very good. Any other? Okay, so gallant animal like so very good. So I think you've said one for one. So I'll not let you say all. I will allow someone else to come and also share with us what he or she has for us. So thank you very much. I think another hand is up. Mary, if you are done, you can mute your microphone. Let me check the other hand that is up. Please, if I have not notified you, just talk and let me check the hands that are up. Okay, Lillian are free. Yeah, Lillian, your hand is up. You can talk. Then Erica, sorry, I'll later refer to you. I think your hand came up before Lillian. So Lillian, if you are ready, you can talk. Then I'll invite Erica Abil to also talk to us. Lillian, if you can hear me. Okay, Erica Abil. I think Lillian, I can hear Lillian. So Erica, if you are ready, you can talk. Please, what did you say? I hardly heard you. Yeah, the eye spot, very good, very good. Because eye plants don't have eye, so the eye spot is an animal life feature. Is that not? Okay. Okay, so I think you have answered another question that later I wanted you to know. So if you heard her right, we can say that I told you that the eye spot is not for vision, it's not for seeing, so it can't see you, it can't see anything. So it is photoreceptive. That is a light sensitive structure. So once it senses light, the euglena can move towards the source of light and it can photosynthesize. So it has an eye spot, but it doesn't use the eye spot as animals will use it for vision. Rather, the eye spot is like a light sensor. Once it sees light, it can go closer to it, then it can enjoy. If the light is too high, it can denature it, so it can go deeper into the water so that it can get the right spectrum of or intensity of light for photosynthesis. So the eye spot is an animal-like feature which helps it to detect light for photosynthesis. Thank you very much. Any other plant-like feature or animal-like feature? Lillian, your hand is still up, so you can talk to us. Lillian, the flagellum, very good. Very good, because animals are organisms that are responsible or able to locomote. Plants don't locomote. The reason is plants cannot move their body from one place to another. So that is what makes it animal-like feature. Any other feature? Please, oh, let more hands be raised. I think, yeah, Natalia, very good. Natalia, any other animal-like or plant-like? You can talk to us about any. Okay, contractile vacuum, yeah. So is it an animal-like or plant-like feature? Yeah, it's more of animal-like feature. Thank you very much. Any other person? There is one that I have not heard you. After flagellum, something should be next. There is one, but anyone that has seen it can bring it on board. Sometimes people don't want to say the simple or the easier ones. No hand is up yet. Can I invite Alicia Chirewa? If only you can hear my voice and you are willing. I think that is the first name that appears alphabetically. Chloe, it's a long time I heard you talk. Mhm. Grace Benoni too. I'm seeing you. So anyone that is ready, Tracy Dia and Esther too. When I saw this name, I was like, wow. So who is Esther too? You, I'm inviting you. You can talk to us and let us know the animal life feature. All right. So I'm sure we saw something like math. Let me. I think my screen has been lost. Let me show it once again. Uh, we saw something like mouth, and plants don't have mouth, so it's animals that have the mouth and the gullet. So the mouth, so the flagellum is an animal-like feature. Mouth is animal-like feature, as you can see from my screen. Eye spot is an animal-like feature. Then gullet is an animal-like feature. Contractile vacuum is an animal-like feature. Pellicle is also animal-like feature. Then we can talk about the paramylum granules. That's a plant-like feature. Then we can talk about the paranoids as well. That is used. Then we can talk about the chlorophyll. That's a plant-like feature. So these are the plant-like features, and all that I mentioned earlier on are the animal-like features. So it has the ability to perform. So Lillian, you wanted to ask a question. Now, if your question hasn't been answered, you can ask. So now, question so far, we've talked about the structure of the Euglena viridis. We are about to look at its life process, how it feeds, moves, excretes, and the rest. So if there are any questions, you can ask at this point in time. Lillian, if you can hear me and your question is still not answered, you can ask the question. All right. I think the question has been answered, or later on she can ask the question. So let me continue. If I see your hand, I'll pause after the next uh, checkpoint or after the next objective. Then I will invite you to ask your question. If that's Lillian, you can ask the question. Okay, Esther too. Your hand is up. It's Steven. Hey, then today, what number are you using? Because I later saw Steven Kwartin joined and left. So I never, okay, Steven. So let me call you by that name. Oh, okay, sorry. Today too, I also had my. The function of what? Can you spell it? Because it's not here. If you can spell it, and I can't get it well. No, no, I'm getting it. VAS. Mm-hmm. Ah, basal. Isn't it B? Is it B or V? Aha, basal body. Okay, okay. So basal body. I'm sure it's at this point that he's trying to talk about. So that is now the flagellum is here and it is linked. I don't know whether you are getting a different drawing from a different book. So that is why we refer to as, yeah, the flagellum. So that is the base of it. That is this point. If you can see my screen very well, where I am moving my mouse pad. So that is the basal body. So it's like the base of it. For example, it's like the root. If we take this our crown of our teeth, remember it has a very long root. Some are double. That is the premolars and molars, double or three roots. Then they are into the jaw. So the jaw where it has its base is like the basal body. So that is the V shape or the A shape here. So this is the long flagellum shape, and this part is the basal body. So sorry it was not shown in this drawing, but this what you see here is the basal body. So it's like the root where the flagellum emanated from or grew from. So thank you very much, Stephen. And let me bring this one. So I think we know all of the point here. This wasn't shown in this my drawing. And we also have a myoneme here. So someone might ask, what is this myoneme? So the myoneme is like a contractile fiber. So it's like a microfilament or a fiber in the structure of the euglena, which helps it to can bend or also adapt to changes in shape. So it's like a filament, and we know filament are fibers, like the cytoskeleton in the cell membrane. It allows the organism to have a flexible shape. And remember, this structure is more of protein, so it is a microfilament structure that enables it to change, also move, so it makes it flexible. So it's like a binding wire in it that gives it a structural advantage. So that is the function of the myoneme in the amoeba. So there are microfilament in it, and that enables it to adapt its shape and navigate its way in the water. So I think all the structures have been made mention of. If there are any questions, you can ask later. So let me move on to the life processes. Now, nutrition. Remember, we said is able to live an animal-like structure and feature as well as plant-like features. So, as an animal, it will feed heterotrophically by using the mouth and gullet. Then it will form a food vacuole. Then it will digest it by releasing enzymes from its cytoplasm into the food vacuole. Then it has it. And if there's enough light and it can undergo photosynthesis, it has carbon dioxide available, it has sunlight available and chlorophyll in place, then it can feed autotrophically by preparing its own food. So Euglena viridis is a unique organism. The reason is it can undergo both two feeding mechanism, that is autotrophic feed, a self-feeding, making your own food from inorganic substance or making organic compound from inorganic compound, that is autotrophic feeding, and it will use light. Then we have what we call heterotrophic feeding, feeding from a different source, that is from other a food prepared by another organism. So that is the two types. It can do both photosynthetic and heterotrophic. So it can eat other plant or animals. Euglena is the connecting link between the plant and animal kingdom. So because it has animal-like feature and plant, so it's like it's a link, a bridge between animal and plant. So it complements animal features with plant-like features, and that is the duality of this amoeba. Sorry, this Euglena viridis we are studying. So Euglena is the connecting link between the plant and animal kingdom, though it's neither a plant, neither uh, an animal. It's a prototist, but we can largely keep it as an animal or a plant. So it's in between both. but it's neither a plant nor animal. It's in the kingdom Protoctista. So this mode of nutrition is called mesotrophic. So mesotrophic here means mix. So it's capable of doing two different or mixing different types of feeding, and we call that feeding relation at mesotrophic. So we have autotrophic, heterotrophic, and Euglena is mesotrophic. It means it combines more than one or uses the two basic mode of nutrition, which is the autotrophic and the heterotrophic feeding. So here we had autotrophic or holophytic. So autotrophic feeding is the same as holophyte. So instead of saying autotrophic, we don't say autotrophyte, rather it's a holophyte. When we say an organism is a holophyte, it's the same as an organism that can prepare its own food, either through light or chemical. So some are chemoautotroph, some are photoautotroph. Remember, the chemo means chemical, auto means self, trophic means feeding. Then the photosynthetic is photoautotroph. Photo means light, auto means self, and the trophic means feeding. So self feeding with light, self feeding with chemical. Some use chemicals like methane and the rest to prepare their own food. Others will use carbon dioxide and sunlight. That is a basic one for preparing their own food. So that is the feeding relationship of amoeba proteus. So as an autotroph or holophyte, that is the chief mode of nutrition in Euglena. Since the chlorophyll is there, it will not depend on other organisms. It can just prepare its own food. So far as there's light, it will undergo photosynthetic. But during the dark, in the night, or when the the level of dark, the turbidity of the water is too high, it's not that clear, it's very very muddy, then it will result to heterotrophic feeding. So like a true plant, it can manufacture its food from water and carbon dioxide as the inorganic compound, the raw material. Then by the help of sunlight trapped by the chlorophyll in the chloroplast, it can undergo photosynthesis to prepare its own food. So the carbohydrates are stored in the paramylon granules. So it will get glucose at the end, and it will store excess glucose as starch in its storage organelle or structure that we call the paramylon granules or pyrenoids. So we can keep them also in pyrenoids or paramylon granules. So Euglena remains an autotroph. So far as there is light, it will prepare its own food. It won't wait for any other organism to feed on. It will prepare its own food. But when there is absence of light or too much light or light that's not in the spectrum, it will now result to heterotrophic feeding. But remember, it stores some of the food. So it will be a very long time that it can feed on other organisms, because even if it doesn't undergo photosynthesis, it has stored food. It can rely on it. But when it goes in the dark for long, that is when it will need external food by feeding heterotrophically. So at times, when the pond becomes polluted with dead and decaying organic matter, it will switch over to a saprozoic mode. That is by feeding as a saprophyte, decay feeder, feeding on decaying organic matter as bacteria will do. So generally, the chloroplast lost in the dark is regained in the light. So once it gets light, it now gets hold of its photosynthetic by getting enough chloroplast and chlorophyll in its system. So it can also feed saprophytically or as a saprozoic. So saprophytic or saprozoic nutrition. So in prolonged darkness, while prolonged darkness, it cannot prepare its own food, and it has also used a stored food. So now the only result is to rely on food produced in the environment, that the decaying organic matter, and that is how it will feed. So when it is such a valve, it becomes etiolated, that is, it becomes pale and white. So the amoeba will become pale and white, yet it will continue to live and perform all the life activities. So in the absence of light, it will feed saprophytically, which means it will absorb the product of decaying organic matter dissolved in water, and it is absorbed through the general body surface, mainly through the pellicle. So Euglena will secrete digestive enzymes that are typically animal-like in feature, and they will break down these organic matter or these nutrition gained from the organic matter. Then it gets its food. So pinocytosis, it has also been observed to take place at the base of the reservoir. So pinocytosis is whereby water move into a cell through the cell membrane. So amoeba, studies have shown that they can also, sorry, Euglena can also undergo pinocytosis. Has also been observed at the base of the reservoir for the intake of protein. So the cell can drink water. So remember we said pinocytosis means cell drinking and phagocytosis means cell eating. So at the reservoir and getting to the mouth part, it can take in some water or dissolve food nutrients in the water into its system and reservoir for the intake of protein and large molecules. So it can also undergo pinocyte. So that is how the Euglena feed. It can prepare its own food or it can rely on the food in the environment. If there's a question on that, you can ask, or I'll move straight to respiration. So if we talk about the feeding, it undergoes a mesotrophic feeding, a mix of saprophytic feeding and autotrophic feeding. So let's move to respiration. Now, after eating, what next? It needs to get energy from the food, and that is through respiration. So whereby the food is broken down to release energy for cellular activity. So respiration, remember, it's plant-like and animal-like. And respiration, every organism, either plant or animal, use oxygen. Last time we settled this. By sometimes plant might not take atmospheric oxygen because they have enough in their system. But in the night when they don't photosynthesize, they now rely on atmospheric oxygen for their respiration. But for photosynthesis, that is why they take in carbon dioxide. This is a well-established fact by now all of us should know. So Euglena undergoes cellular respiration to derive energy from the breakdown of food molecules. So you have eaten, but once you eat, you have satisfied. You don't feel hungry again, but your body has not utilized it yet. It needs to be broken down through respiration. That is when your cells will know. Your cells don't know banku. They just don't know carbohydrate. Once it enters your system, they break it down into ATP. We talked about this the other time. Adenosine triphosphate, that is the energy currency of our body or our living cells. So it refers with the help of free oxygen. So oxygen dissolved in water would diffuse by simple diffusion. It gets into its body. Then carbon dioxide excess will come out through its pellicle. So during the daytime, listen, a good amount of oxygen is liberated in the process of photosynthesis. So in the day, it's not necessarily taking oxygen. So far as it is photosynthesizing, it will produce enough oxygen. Some will enter the Krebs cycle or respiration, glycolytic pathway and Krebs cycle to break down food to release energy. The excess will come out. But in the night or when it is not photosynthesizing, after eating food from outside, it will require oxygen outside into its cells to break down the food through respiration. So during the daytime, a good amount of oxygen is regulated, so it's and others are used for respiration. As a result of oxidation reaction, water and carbon dioxide are formed as, so this is just trying to explain respiration processes. So through reactions, carbon dioxide are formed as a byproduct, and since it is still daytime, it might not necessarily bring this carbon dioxide out. This can enter its Calvin cycle or photosynthetic pathway, and it can also use that for photosynthesis. So you see, the waste product is now a byproduct, sorry, raw material for another process. So the end product or the waste product is now entering another cycle as a raw material. It also produces oxygen as a raw material, sorry, as a finished product or byproduct, and that will now be enter the respiration as a raw material. So it make use of its waste and it continue the cycle. Then the excess will come out. So but in the neck, it is liberated to the outside for diffusion. So when it is in the night, the carbon dioxide cannot enter the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis. It will not leave a cell so that it will not accumulate as waste, so that the carbon dioxide will come out into the atmosphere since it will not need. So it takes in oxygen when it is not photosynthesizing. But in the day, when it can photosynthesize, its excess carbon dioxide enters the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis, and to produce enough oxygen, excess will come out and the rest will be used for breaking down the food that it has produced in its body to release ATP. then it can enjoy. So that is how it respires, and it is by simple diffusion. It doesn't breathe as we breathe. It will pass through the nose, nasal cavity, then a lot of structure before it gets to the alveoli. This one, simple diffusion, just through the pellicle, it enters. Excess carbon dioxide will come out if only it is in the night or it is not photosynthesizing. So let's talk about reproduction quickly. Then I'll pause for some questions to come. If there are not any question, we can continue the other life process. So reproduction, how does it reproduce? Remember we talked that amoeba reproduce by binary fission, whereby it now coils in, assumes a round shape. Now we call something karyokinesis, whereby the nucleus divide into two. Then cytokinesis, whereby the cytoplasm divide into two. So let's assume this is the nucleus. So this is the actual cell. The nucleus will divide into two. Now they will move to the other end of the structure. Now the cytoplasm also divides into two. Now we get one amoeba with a nucleus, another here with a nucleus. So that is how it occurs. Now how does Euglena also reproduce? Euglena also reproduces asexually through binary fission. So asexually it can reproduce through binary fission, just like an amoeba. So it also, amoeba will withdraw all of its pseudopodia. This one will also become stagnant. Now, one important structure to divide is the nucleus. Another one too is the flagella. So now let's look here. It also undergo a form of sexual reproduction we call conjugation. So this one can undergo two: binary fission and conjugation. So we talk about the binary fission, then we talk about the conjugation together. Conjugation is whereby sexual, two of them, Euglena will come, then we can form four different Euglena. So they reproduce by longitudinal binary fission. So meaning they are divided on along their length. So from top to down, not transverse. So that is their longest side. So they are divided from top to bottom, and a new flagella will be formed. So the longitudinal binary fission is also symmetrogenic. So it means it gives them a symmetry that produce two alike, two daughters that looks alike. So it's also symmetrogenic. That is, the parental Euglena divide in two daughter individuals, where one is the plain mirror image of the other. So they have a symmetry, a bilateral symmetry, whereby they look just like the same as the other, and it is from top to bottom. Let me show you this diagram. There should be very good a diagram here to show. Sorry, this one is not very clear, so you can see the writings here. So I will say this matured Euglena. So nucleus divide, you cannot see because I know I can read no matter it's not clear. So this one is mature Euglena. So mature Euglena will just stay there. Now you see it has formed another how do you call it, flagella, because they are important structures. So any cell division, before they do, most important structures are replicated. The rest, the nucleus can control them. So here you see the nucleus divides, and before, as the nucleus try to divide, the nucleus also produce another flagella. So one will be for the old one, another one will form. Now cytoplasm also divides. So after the nucleus divides, they will move to side by side. Now cytoplasm, that we call cytokinesis, will now begin to happen. So now a line will try to divide. The microfilament will now stretch, trying to divide the cytoplasm of the euglena. Now you see young euglena are formed. So this one's a young euglena, this is another young euglena that is being divided. Now we have daughter euglena. One is here, one is there, and they look like the mirror image of each other. So the first part is mature euglena will form a flagella as the nucleus so divides. The nucleus separates to the other side, and now the cell cytoplasm or the cell membrane begin to divide from top to bottom longitudinally. Now two different young euglena are formed, and now this one is capable of living its life, another live its life. So this is the binary fission or asexual reproduction. Now someone will ask a question about the sexual reproduction, that is called conjugation, and is very similar to what we will see in the you the spirogyra. So I'm using that. We don't have that drawing here. That has not been a well-established fact. So this is what our books provide for us. So I'm using this as an example for, so this is the conjugation. So you see, so let's assume this is the spirogyra. This is one spirogyra strand. The whole of this is a strand. This is one cell, this is another cell. So let's assume this is an euglena. They will lie side by side and they will exchange their nuclear material. So if this is to be the euglena, one will not divide. What will happen is, I'm using these daughter cells as an example for you, so please don't mistake it. Don't mistake it. Sorry. So assuming this is one euglena, another euglena, and they want to undergo conjugation, they will lie side by side, and their nuclear material will now fuse. So this one will bring this nuclear material here, another one. So there will be a mixing of the nuclear material, and they will divide to form two daughter cells. So this one will divide two. This one will get two. Then we get four daughter cells. So that is how conjugation in this Euglena would have occurred. But what we just demonstrated is the binary fit. That is the most used. I think first it was noted that they only undergo asexual, but now through research we have realized that it can also undergo a form of conjugation to produce two four daughter Euglena cells, unlike the binary fish whereby we get only two. So that is conjugation for you. Now, excretion and osmotic. If you have a question you can ask, let me pause here because I've talked for some time. Then I'll talk about the next 2 points. Then we are almost done with Euglena viridis. I'm waiting for just 30 seconds. If there's a question, raise up your hand. If you haven't formed your question yet, jot it down. Later, I'll ask you to ask if it's not ready in the next 5 seconds. Alright, jot your question down. Okay, talk. Yeah, talk. Pekwa, talk. Your network is not good. I'm getting some breakages. Pekwa, if you can hear me, I'll give me the chance. I want to continue. So if your question is in, ask. Alright, let me continue. So later, if your network is not good, just type it, then you put it at the comment section or the message area. Now, excretion and osmoregulation is just as in amoeba. It also has a contractile vacuole which control water regulation and also take it west. So remember, urinating or excretion is a way of water balance. If you drink enough water, you are urine, you urinate a lot. If you don't take in enough water, you have a scant urine, and the urine even color changes. It becomes concentrated, salty, and also yellowish. When you take in much water, it looks just like the water that you drank, and you urinate a lot. So it's a way of taking waste out of your body as well as maintaining water balance. So that is what excretion also occur with the contractile vacuum. So waste products are eliminated through the pellicle, that's the cell membrane, a semi-rigid outer covering. So the pellicle also give it mechanical advantage. So it's not a cell wall, but it gives a protection like a cell wall will do. That give it is a rigid structure that give it a little bit of protection from mechanical injury. So the removal of excess water from the body is known as osmoregulation. That is regulation of water. If it takes out more water into a system, more water will be taken out through osmoregulation. So the contractile vacuum will be filling up much well. If it is in a hypertonic solution whereby it will lose water, it doesn't form enough contractile vacuum, or the water in the contractile vacuum become limited because it is already losing water. Water is not entering it, so the net movement will be reduced. So it is performed by the contractile vacuolar apparatus. So the contractile vacuole consists of a large contractor. So the contractile apparatus, which we can talk about contractile vacuole, is surrounded by numerous small accessory vacuoles, and this cytoplasm secretes the excessive water into the smaller vacuole. So any excess water in the cytoplasm will enter the smaller vacuole in the contractile vacuole. Then it will drain into the larger vacuoles. The larger vacuole finally empties into the reservoir. Then it moves. So this is the reservoir or the mouth pore. So it will come to this point here. That's the reservoir where the basal body, then it will move out of the body of the Euglena. So it will come to the reservoir or the mouth pore. So along with this water, soluble waste are thrown out of the body like ammonia, nitrogenous waste, any waste in its body or cytoplasm will mix with the water. So as the water is going, it flushes every waste out from the body of the amoeba. So excretosomes may also be emptied by the contractile vacuum into the reservoir. It has been suggested that the dense zone of cytoplasm around the contractile apparatus is both for osmoregulatory water control and also for excretory function. So that is how it also control water or respiration, sorry, or excretion. So let me get the actual drawing and I will explain for the very last time to you. So there's the amoeba and there's the contractile vacuole. Now you see we have small, so these are the point over there. So together all of these are called contractile apparatus. So it's not one. So it's like a group of materials, or let me say equipments. So that is the contractile apparatus. Then we have the smaller vacuoles. So when these are filled, they will also flow into the larger one. So this one will pick the water from the cytoplasm. When they are filled, they move into the larger contractile vacuole. Then it will enter the reservoir here. Then it moves out of the body. So that's all that the reading over there was trying to explain. Let me move on to the next life process. When I finish the life process, then I also pause for questions if there are any. So keep your questions. Now, how it responds to stimuli. That is irritability or sensitivity. One, it has a light and an eye spot, which makes it sensitive to light or photosensitive. So it has the photoreceptive structure called an eye spot. So it senses and moves towards light. If the light is too high, it can denature, so it moves away. When light is too dim, it tries to move upwards to get enough light for its photosynthetic process. So Euglena reacts to a variety of stimuli in the same manner as protozoa do. So they move towards to favorable. So if it is heat, chemicals, they move away. When it is food, something like that they want, they move close to. As a human, you move to or you try to respond to favorable stimuli. The unfavorable one, you respond by moving away or trying to eliminate them from your environment. That is how they do. The ones that they like, they pursue. The one that they don't like, they run away or they try to prevent. So locomotion, how does it move? It moves by using its long flagella, and it can also undergo another type of a movement, that is by using what we call the euglenoid movement, that is a pellicle. And let me explain it at this point. So euglena, what it normally uses is the flagellar movement. It uses that when it want to move, like human, you run, or like the fowl, it will fly when you pursue it for long. But when it want to move slowly, it will just be walking or running. But when you pursue it for long, it decides to run just to escape. So it undergo flagellar movement, and this is what it do. It move by lashing or slashing its or shaping its long flagellum in water. So it's like having, let's assume there's a long flagellum and there's the body of the Euglena. So when it lashes its flagellum here, what happens? It will move its body to the other side. So it lashes it, it goes over there. So it's like a zigzag movement. So that's how it does. It will shape a flagellum. Once it try to shape the flagellum, it's like if you have escaping, then you can throw the long part. What happens is that the handle will move the other way. So once it will slash its flagellum this way, it goes that way. It will flash another way. Now it is going up. Before you realize, it is moving in a zigzag manner. So we say that's the flagellar movement by slashing its uh, flagellum, long flagellum in water. It creates a current, and that current or pressure propels it forward in a zigzag manner. So Euglena swiftly in water with the help of a single long flagellum by shaping, twisting. So when they turn it around like that of a propeller, the three types of movement of Euglena body caused by the locomotory flagellum are forward movement. So one, it moves forward, and as it's moving forward, it also rotates on its own axis. That is on a rotational body. So it turns, but as it's moving in a zigzag manner, it also tries to rotate in. So it's like this. I throw the long rope. I don't have any rope here. So I throw the long rope here. Now it turns this way. So I flip over there, then it moves that way. cube over there, then it will be turning. So it rotates as it moves zigzag or sideways. So that is what the Euglena flagellar movement is. So the water current produced will propel it forward in a zigzag manner. So it has a forward movement, rotational movement, and revolutionary movement. So rotation is turning on your own axis. Revolution means turning around something. So as it moves on its own axis, it also moves in a circular form that forms a revolution. Now let me talk about the Euglenoid movement. That is a very slow one, but faster than the pseudopodium formation. So this type of movement is possible due to the presence of the pellicle. So the pellicle are the let me say, it's not that hard, but they are flexible structure on its cell. So what happens is that when they contract and relax, it will cause a movement. So when the pellicle cell contracts and relaxes slowly, so it's like how we call this animal, an earthworm moving. You see, it contracts its cell membrane, the cell around its body. That's the chitin. It try to compress it, then it will release it. So it contract, expand, then it's able to move or wiggle around. So that is how the Euglena movement looks like. So usually it depends on the pellicle on the surface. When the pellicle is flexible and contractible, it can expand and contract, which enables it to perform a peristaltic movement. Someone will say, what is a peristaltic movement? Like if you want to swallow something, you can put your hand around this your esophagus here. What happens is that you see that it move up and down. If you are swallowing something, you see a movement. So peristaltic movement is an uncontrolled movement of muscles, especially we have the anal sphincter. The way that some undergo when you are trying to uh, swallow something, and even when you are defecating, it's the same peristaltic movement that happen. It occur that allow physics to leave your body. And there are some other places that it occur. I will not mention them because we are talking about nutrition, not other subjects. So by swallowing it occur, and so these are peristaltic occur. Sometimes if you are putting, if you have a PE pad and you are putting, how do you call it, the rope inside, how do we do it? So you try to open this part. Once you open this part of the muscle, you close here. So that's how, like putting a rope, or let me say it, inside a PE pant. So what happens under prostatic movement is that the cells at the top here will now relax. It will open. Here will contract. So once it contract, it will push it forward. Once it comes to that side, it will open up. Then it will squeeze it out. So that's how peristaltic movement occur. So the muscles in at the front open up so you can enter. Those at the back will now close, so they will push you out here. You come here. This one also pushes you. What is up also open. Then it continues that way. That's what we call a peristaltic movement. That is a repetitive contraction and relaxation of muscles to allow movement in between them. So the pellicle also can do that peristaltic movement. So it contracts and relaxes. That causes a movement. So it's like this my palm. Now I have contracted it. I have relaxed it. I've done it this way. So before you realize, it's like a maggot moving, and that is called the Euglenoid movement. But I can undergo a rapid one. That is the flagellar movement. Now let me talk about the plant life features, then I'll pause if there are questions. This is what I invited you to talk, and you did marvelously well. These are the plant life features. It has chloroplast for photosynthesis. It has paramylon granules and pyrenoids which store starch. These are the plant life features, and these are the animal life features. It is motile. So motile or mobile means the same thing. Motility and mobility is the same thing. So please don't get confused. Motile and mobile. If you say you are sessile, SESSILE, that means that you can't move. So sessile means you can't move, but mobile and motile means you can move. So the body is covered with a stiff pellicle, which can also contract and relax to enable it to move via the Euglenoid movement. It has contractile vacuole for excretion, as you can see over there. These are animal life, and an eye spot for light sensitivity. We can talk about the mouth and gullet for feeding. Now I'll pause here. If there are some questions you can ask. Then before that, If there are any question you can ask, then I'll continue with adaptation of the Euglena viridis. If you have a question, get your question ready. So once I open the window, don't just think about the question now, or else you will delay us. So always be with your pen and paper. You jot some questions down. Okay, have you seen any reaction? Keep the question. When we are done, you can ask. So formulate your question well. When you are done, you can ask later. So adaptation of Euglena viridis. Last time I told you that adaptation refers to how it is able, either it could be a structure or behavioral. When we just say adaptation, you can mention the structures, maybe the eye spot for sensing light. That allows it. If it can't sense light, can it undergo photosynthesis? No. If it doesn't have a mouth pore, can it take in food through ectotrophic feeding? No. So these are the structures. It doesn't have a flagella, can it move? It can't move. So anything that allows it to perform A7 life processes or to sustain life, that is adaptation that the organism have. So one, it has the stellate chloroplast for photosynthesis. It has a contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. So always mention the structure and how it enables it to live. Don't just say it has a chloroplast. What does it mean? Is that an adaptation? No. Chloroplast enable it to prepare its own food so that it doesn't die out of starvation. It has an outer pellicle for protection, and the pellicle can also contract and relax for immediate movement. That is another function that you can add. It has a long flagellum for locomotion. It has paramylon granules or paranoid for starch storage. That is also another function of another structure for adaptation. It has an eye spot for light sensitivity so that it can sense light and undergo its photosynthesis. Now we say economic importance of Euglena viridis. As I told you, economic importance in biology is not about GDP or let me say dollar rate or the rest. What is the economic importance in biology? It refers to any role it plays. It could be bad or good importance. Even if it kills human beings, that is its economic importance. There's a need for that because if all our great grandfathers were still alive, I'm sure some of us wouldn't have a place to stay or even a food to eat on earth. So they all play their role. It's good organisms die, some also live so that life or the cycle or balance can still continue. So whatever thing that it does, whether it kills other animals, it feeds on them, it even causes disease. So that will be its economic importance, the good and the bad. We mention them in biology as economic importance. So Euglena species, so any of the other varieties or any other, they have a potential economic significance. Reason is they have the ability to perform photosynthesis. Because they can photosynthesize, they can pick excess carbon dioxide in the water so that the water does not become poisoned with carbon dioxide for other animals. Then they can produce food, so now they can prepare their own food. They also serve as food for other organisms. So they are like one, they are primary producers. Sorry, they can serve as consumers, and they are also producers. By producing their food, they make food available for other organisms. They also provide oxygen for other organisms in the water to also get it. So they perform photosynthesis and produce carbohydrate compound called paramylon, not paramylon. So remember, this paramylon has some health benefits which can lower cholesterol levels. So this paramylon that they produce has a medicative or therapeutic function by trying to lower cholesterol levels in organisms. So I'm sure people try to tap this and they can take it. Scientists are using that to lower cholesterol levels in other organisms. Aside that, they also serve as food for some organisms and they pick up carbon dioxide from the water. So that is the function Euglena species are providing. There are no known health implications about them for now. What we have we know is that their economic importance is to serve as food, take out carbon dioxide, bring in oxygen for other organisms, and even the carbon that they produce, paramylon, can also be used to lower cholesterol levels. So this ends our study on Euglena viridis. If there are any questions, concern, you can bring it on board. Our time is up. If you have a question, you can ask. I'm opening chance for questions. Your question should be ready. So I'm waiting for 1 minute. If there are no questions, then I think it's well understood. If you have a question at this point, you can ask. I've said the comment section, there are no questions now. If everything is well understood, give me a thumbs up. If you have a challenge but you can't talk, then you can give me a thumbs down. Okay, Jessica Shari says she understands. Chloe, it's a long time you talk. I'm expecting you to talk another time. Beatrice Manu, okay, thank you very much. Natalia, well understood. Okay, so read wide, then bring some more questions that have not been asked before. Bring it on board, then we all study and build up knowledge. So thank you very much for joining us. Today was a very tight day, but we made it through. Going on Tuesday, we will continue with our studies. And Tuesday, God willing, in our next lesson, we will be talking about the life processes and the economic importance of Spirogyra porticalis. And that will be the last organism we will study for this semester. The next time we will be talking about them will be ecology, whereby we study about the environment and some ecological terms. So thank you very much for staying with us. See you in our next lesson going on Tuesday, whereby we will discuss the structure and life process of amoeba porticalis. If you avoid the video up to this time, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel and just turn on the notification panel so that anytime I upload videos, you will get access to it. Have a nice day. Good night to you. See you another time in the next video. Bye.